Okay, so we're gonna go over the Smart Sheet Control Center for
Uh-huh.
MRP. And
Mhm.
did you want me to, I figured I probably should just start with the basics, kind of show you the report and then show you the sheets. That's kind of the meat of it. And then we can kind of go from there. That sound good? I mean, there's a lot of different things to discuss. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, the report, which is what you're looking at right now, is kind
Uh-huh.
of that's kind of the compilation of all the projects. And this is
Mhm.
also what I send to the client, so they get this on a weekly basis. Um, and then from here, you can click on these links to go into each one of the individual
Each page.
project
Yeah.
schedules. Yeah. So I
Mhm.
figure we can talk about those two items. Um,
Mhm.
and then if we have more time, we can start talking about how you set up your projects, so that you can go ahead and set up your own projects and what the process is for that.
Mhm.
There's probably this is probably one of those things where we're probably gonna have to have multiple calls. There's a little bit of information here to go over.
Mhm.
But I think if I focus on those few items to begin with, we've got plenty of time to start diving into, the permit reports and the raid
Yeah.
reports and other things that you may not even want to use. They're kind of optional.
Mhm.
Okay, so that being said, this is a report that is the way it's kind of set up right now is it's set up based upon the client name and the program construction manager. Um,
Mhm.
so what I can do is like, of course, we can take this report if you like the way it's set up, and then we can change it so that it reports based upon uh, your your uh, your client's name, your
Mhm.
construction manager's name. Um,
Mhm.
so you could actually end up with, so you may end up with multiple reports. So maybe if you've got like, right now we send out a report to the EOTF, and we send out another report to Robert Yagaseki for MRP. So you may want to actually have like multiple reports if you've got different construction managers. That way they're not looking at somebody else's report.
Yeah.
Um, and the basic the basics for this are pretty straightforward. I mean, obviously you can kind of see all the basics as far as the project information is concerned.
Mhm.
And then we have some color key codes. So this is the overall project status. It's just saying, hey, this is actually in progress.
Mhm.
It's on track, and I'll show you how you adjust that. Um,
Uh-huh.
and these are kind of the key columns that we've identified. And this is probably one of the more important things to talk about. Hopefully, the columns that I've got here are kind of the same columns that you're tracking to. If there's something additional that you need, it may be relatively easy to add it, but it may also be kind of a
Oh.
big issue.
So I
Um,
cannot add it. It has to be set by somebody else.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, what I'll show you is there is additional information you can pull from. So I just opened up the actual project schedule. And what you're going to see here on the left-hand side where all these little tick marks are,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
these are all available to link to the report. So if there's something that you see on the report that's not, or something you see on this list that's not on the report, it's very easy to go ahead and add that.
Okay.
If it's not here, then it becomes a bit of a bigger deal. What we tried to do is when I was working with the beta test team, we kind of put together a list of all the things that we thought were important.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
of
Uh-huh.
course, we got so many different clients. Everybody calls things slightly different. Um,
Mhm.
but I did pick a few things that are specific to McDonald's. Like we do have decor package here,
Yes.
and we
Uh-huh.
do have brand review. So I got brand review
Mhm.
submitted, brand review approved. So some
Yeah.
of the things that are important. So yeah, if there's some things that you want, let's talk about it and
Mhm.
let's see if we can utilize something we've already got, or if we need
Mhm.
to add something, we can do that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and jump back to the report. So the color combination, the way the color works is if it's a gray background, it's a projected date. And if it's a white background, then that's an actual date. A red background means that we've got a risk. It's
Correct, yeah.
identified as being a risk. So like, I don't have contracts, so I identify this as a risk. I tend not to use that very often, but if there's something that you really want to highlight, then obviously you can utilize that. So again, these are all pretty straightforward. Brand review submitted, approved. The decor complete, which obviously is usually quite a ways out. Permit submitted, permit approved. Sign permit submitted, approved. Planning if required. For most of ours, we don't have planning. Planning submitted and approved. Out to bid, ground breaking, construction complete. At first glance, does that cover most of the things that you're looking to track, or is there some missing information?
What I'm thinking is the most stuff. So there's some stuff not related to client, but we track it in house.
Yeah.
And these are some things that we actually show in our tracker. Financials is good, I track that in our tracker.
Right.
Like information, like the ADA, post ADA survey, and then the 7 or PM design as both. These I track. Scope work, outlined, done, obtained from client. I track that also because you can't start without it. And these are the critical things that I actually track in addition to what you have. And then we go a little bit detail, but I think you guys also, like in the planning, submitted, approved. I mean, I think you have it.
Yeah, I do right over here. So, yeah, you brought up a couple of good points that actually, I think that's something that I've added, and I probably just haven't put it into the report yet. I'm glad you brought up ADA. So if I go to the schedule, I actually have it's called prelim task B.
Yes.
So we do have the ADA here. It's kind of weird. I called it prelim task B because at one point in time we were thinking, well, let's just add a generic name for something, call it prelim task A or B, and then so that at least we have some flexibility. I am thinking, however, that the problem with it being generic like this is the client doesn't really understand what prelim task B is. So we could add the pre-con ADA, and I think that's a good idea, and then as well as the post construction ADA. So
yeah, bid construction. I just need the date. That's in the way in tax year. So mostly it's just the date they tell us upload for bid.
Right.
And then the construction starts. And after that, I don't track anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to track because these MRPs, they go 6 weeks, 8 weeks, they're done.
Right.
You don't even, sometimes you don't hear anything. They're everything like solved in the field. They just want the permit and then they run with it.
Yeah. Okay. I find sometimes personally it's nice for me to have the post-construction ADA identified somewhere, because then that kind of gives me a notification that, okay, I can bill 100%. Because most of the time when my project's just about done, I bill like 90%. But obviously I hold off on the final billing until that final construction.
I actually, when I submit for permit, I bill everything.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, they pay because they don't do this for the ADA. They hold the contractor. They don't give him the final until he gives them, until they have the post ADA. But architects, they get paid because we don't do construction administration. minute I submit, I just bill everything. And then what's left would be, the stuff comes after the reimbursables.
Right.
Usually, that's the one that I keep. It's keep open, but I'm just billing here and there any reimbursables.
Right.
That sometimes you get it late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So the schedule, the way the schedule was set
Uh huh.
up is, I'm trying to find one here that's kind of generic where we haven't really started. Okay, so this one's fairly generic. So you can actually build out your template schedule,
Mhm.
and put in kind of your what your typical turnaround time would be, and then you can set up your predecessors. You can copy mine, or you can stretch it.
Yeah.
So
Uh huh.
what I mean by that is, we start out with a proposal, and then
Mhm.
we do a quick SIR, and then we
Yes.
schedule our pre-construction ADA. Everything else is kind of follows that. So we go from the
Mhm.
pre-construction ADA right into the preliminary design, and so these all kind of go
Mhm.
in order. So you can kind of see how they all
Yeah.
have this staircase. And
Mhm.
the nice thing about that is when you set up your new projects, everything's already has the predecessors. So all
Mhm.
I really need to do is it's all kind of based on when I scheduled my
Start one.
pre-con ADA. That's how I
Ah,
got it
okay.
set up. So in some cases I may have a
Wow.
contract, but I don't schedule my pre-con ADA for 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out, and so I plug that date in, and then everything
Mhm.
else kind of falls into place. Um,
Mhm.
as a project manager, what we end up doing though, we obviously start making some modifications to the building permit process, depending on
Mhm.
what the SIR says. If is it going to be 4 weeks,
Yeah. Mhm.
or is it going to be 6 weeks, and
Mhm.
then so it's easy to come in and just change that, and then
Yeah, I love that.
so that's kind of how we do that.
Mhm.
Um, and as far as how the 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 white showing that it's actually been completed versus
Mhm.
the projected, it's all based on this progress over here.
Mhm.
So what you would do is you would say that, um, if something's not started, like this SIR,
Mhm.
it would show them both in gray. If
Mhm.
it's in progress, like this one, then it shows the first date as being a hard date because we actually
Mhm.
started it, but we haven't finished it. And then, of
Mhm.
course, if it's listed as completed, then it makes both of those white. So it kind of
Okay.
locks in that date. So that's how
Mhm.
you adjust those.
Mhm.
Um, you can assign to people. And I'm guessing when you first start out, you may not be all that into being to quite that level of detail where you actually assign work to people.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but at a later date, you may want to try using it because what it does is you can set up a dashboard, or I can set up a
Yeah.
dashboard
Mhm.
for those people, and they can actually
And then
see
they can email.
they can
Right.
see all their tasks.
Huh.
Every
Okay.
day when they come in, it's like and
Mhm.
it identifies what the priority is. What the start date is, when the due date, and then they can go in and they can check it that it's complete. So that's what Amanda does. I mean, she's a pretty high level job captain, so she's
Mhm.
doing a lot of this work herself, where
Mhm.
she likes this format, and she just checks it off. I did it on this
Mhm.
date, and then she'll say if it's completed or not. And I'm mainly
That's
looking at
great.
kind of the
Mhm.
kind of the big overview. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I can see how that could be helpful for you if you've got a
Yeah.
lot
I
of
mean, we don't need to walk to the desk. They can just check it off, and then
right.
we'll get notified.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
great. Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of information. This will also link you into some additional sheets that you can use. So each project naturally ends up with its own dashboard. So the dashboard
Mhm.
looks like this. For MRP, I don't really use the dashboard. I mean, it you can track your permits in here. You can see your overall schedule.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, you can see what we call a RAID, which is like risk, action, decision. But with MRP, there's not a whole lot of major um,
Mhm.
outlying tasks that you have to track, but that is an option for you. Um,
Mhm.
And then if you want to get into the RAID log itself, this is kind of what it looks like. And it's simply a matter of if you've got something that's outside of your standard task list, this is a good place to record it. It's also like kind of like a phone log. You know, somebody calls up and says, hey, don't forget on this particular project, we've got a major planning issue. Then you may want to go ahead and log that here. That way it's always kind of available to view.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I really think a lot of this stuff was built around the concept of a 1-year project. You know, MRP is like right on the edge of whether it makes sense to go through all this this level of effort, or if it's, you know, better just to do it on a more simplified smart sheet. Like this is here's our simplified EOTF sheet, which our clients love. You know, it's just like, well, it's super simple. You know, we just track all of each one of these projects. And I think for EOTF, this just makes sense. It's just a standard spreadsheet tracker. And, you know, once we just change the colors here as these items are completed. So.
Yeah, I mean, we, in the packs here, what they do, we fill in the pages because we have the sheet from McDonald's,
right.
And they generate the report and they send it to all architects. So, and we get it and then we go from there. So we update the dates, they update their dates based on our dates, and then we discuss it every week.
Right.
But it would be great for me if I can put the one I have in something like this, and then we check off the stuff done already, and then it combine it. I think it would be easier than what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I think, you know, and especially if you've got a lot of projects and a lot of people working on it, I think this becomes very, very helpful or very handy, because you can take a quick look here. You know, even my stuff is not up to date. You know, I got something here like Myrtle Creek brand review is supposed to be submitted 8/1. Well, it's like, okay, either this is running late, or she submitted it but didn't bother to mark it as being complete. So I can quickly reach out to her and say, hey, can you check on Myrtle Creek? You know, there's something funny going on here. Either change the date or let's talk about it. She generally tends to, we send this report out automatically Friday evening at 6 p.m. And it's really easy to set that up. You go to the file here and you can say, send as attachment, and then you can do a schedule. So you can see you can see we've got like these recurring schedules where it automatically sends it out in PDF format. So she tends to wait until Friday to kind of go through and make sure everything's all cleaned up as far as the dates are concerned.
So McDonald's, they're not using Smartsheet from their end. They use yours, or another way. McDonald's, you don't have like a global call and a lot of architects.
We actually do, and so what they've been doing is we send this to the construction manager. He takes our information and he fills out his own form. Although what's been happening recently, depending on who the CM is, in some cases, especially with the EOTF, they've actually just started using our form. So some of them are starting to just switch over. They call it the pretty form. They really like the way it looks. This one especially. So they've just kind of abandoned their own tracker and just started using ours.
Yeah.
So if you decide you want to utilize this MRP report, the next step would be that you'd want to get hold of Diana in the Vancouver office. So she's in charge of helping you to set up the projects. there's a little bit of a, I don't know if you looked at that. I sent you the how-to guide, and it talks a little bit
Uh-huh.
about how you set up projects.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, what you're gonna want to do is you can have Diana probably copy my McDonald's folder.
Yeah.
So this is the Linwood MRP. So we could actually copy this. I can
Uh-huh.
create. I can save as new. Matter
Mm-hmm.
of fact, I'll go ahead and do it right now, and we will call this
Just tax Sierra, maybe MRP.
fax.
Uh-huh. Because that's what they call it, tax Sierra.
And you can call
And
your
then
report. You can call your report whatever.
mm-hmm.
Um, so so I'll save that. So this now, I was talking to you about, kind of setting up. Here's a
Uh-huh.
here's a basic template
Okay.
that's copied from my template, so you can see.
Uh-huh.
So I would say the more effort you put into this template, the
Mm-hmm.
happier you're going to be in the long run, because this is going to be the exact same schedule that's printed out for every one of your
Oh, okay.
sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be a great time to go in here and drop your name in here, if you want to do that. Got some people that are typically assigned to doing your
Yeah.
instruction documents. You can put it in
Mm-hmm.
here. You find that your schedule, you're working doing 8 days for a brand review, change that. So you get this all set the way you want it,
Mm-hmm.
and then just
So,
save it.
mhm. Every time I need to add a project, I need to go through this template, fill it out, and then save it. Then is
Nope,
that the way?
nope.
No.
So
Ah.
yeah, so you're gonna put a little bit of effort into the template, and then the
Huh.
beauty is, when you go to start a new project, um, you'll contact Diana, and you'll say,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey Diana, I'm gonna open up 5 new projects,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to use the McDonald's Pack Sierra template." And she'll be like, "Okay." And so what you would do is you contact her, you let her know what's going on, and then you're going to use
Mm-hmm.
this sheet called the Control Center Intake Sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you get a list of projects. If you happen to get it in spreadsheet format, all the better, because then you can kind of copy paste. But this is where you're gonna add your projects. So I've got a new
So she
McDonald's.
will start the control control center for me, and I will be adding the project. Is my understanding good?
What's
Or
Yeah, what you will do is,
mm-hmm.
um, okay, probably actually step by step is, after you've got your template set, you just
Mm-hmm.
got 5 new projects for McDonald's. You come to
Mm-hmm.
your control center intake sheet, or you could potentially just send her a list. Say, "Hey Diana, here's 5 new projects. I just got this from the client. Can you go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and set up new projects for me?" So you can
Okay.
either have her set up the projects, or you can go into this control center intake sheet and you can start listing out all the projects. You just fill in the information. Um,
Okay.
the only thing you don't fill in is this one, actually right here, is a formula. So it grabs the BP number, or the
Okay.
PMDG number, and it grabs the
And this is
location.
she.
So everything else you fill out. So if you were
Mm-hmm.
doing it and you were filling in 5 of these, you'd fill in 5 of these, and you would say, "Okay, Diana, I just added 5 projects. I need you to go into Control Center and set up my projects." Um, what she will do, which you don't necessarily care about the details of this, but just so you understand why we have one person doing it, because it can get um, a little detailed, is she will go in and she will grab your Pack Sierra, and
Mm-hmm.
she will put that into this project folder. Because this project
Okay.
folder, the way the control center is set up, when it creates your projects, it's going to look for this. So we take what's in there and we put it in a holding place. We put the Paxira in here, and then she goes in, and then she goes back to your intake sheet, and there's a little checkbox. So what she will do is go back to this control center. She will click this ready to provision button. And when she clicks that for your 5 projects, it will tell the control center. The control center will automatically go in and set up your 5 projects for you. So really, all you care about, all you really have to worry about is you just add your 5 projects in here. You send an email to Diana, say, hey, I just created 5 projects in the intake sheet. I need you to set up the projects for me.
Set up the project under the Paxira.
And it takes about 2 minutes for it to run through and create all the folders. And then what she'll do is, after she's done that, she's going to be in charge of making sure that that the folder doesn't have McDonald's in there as a default. So we're going to have the idea would be that eventually there could be 20, 30, 40 templates in there, and somebody else calls up and says, okay, I want to run BP template, for Seattle. Now she's going to go ahead and put the BP stuff in there and run it. So we've kind of got one person in charge of doing that. So yeah, we just set up a bunch of these ESA projects, which are very similar to MRPs. They're interior models. So it's kind of the same thing. So you can kind of see, this is what our ESA report looks like. It's all based upon BP projects, and it's kind of tracking similar stuff.
So after if I like send her our Excel file and highlight the projects that I would like to have to go in this, because I don't want to put the completed ones or the ones already past schedule, not talking about it anymore.
Right.
So I can just send her, and then I ask her, can you put them in the intake and then add them to Paxia, and then she can just take it from there.
Yep.
And then my tracker has all the information she needs.
Right.
And go from there.
Yeah.
And then after she sets up everything, I go in then in the one that I have, right, and then go to the schedule, and then I go from there, access the project, or I hit the job number where I go and then go to the sheet. So like the project sheet.
Yeah. So what we want to do is I need to set up a report like this for you, which won't take me very long. So we'll just at first we'll just have to have a little bit of coordination because I'll need to know what your client's name is and so forth. So what I would say is go ahead and have her set up your projects for you. As soon as you get them set up, send me an email and say, okay, Duncan, I just asked Diana to go ahead and set up projects. Can you go ahead and set up my report for me? It's a fairly simple thing. I'll kind of give you an idea of how it works. Eventually you'll get to the point where you can do it yourself. But this right here, this button is the report builder. So you can see that really all it's doing is, in this case, it's actually just looking for something that contains MRP. So it's looking under the client name, program, and the CM name, and it's simply looking for something that says MRP. Well, once you start putting your MRPs in there, obviously that's not going to be detailed enough. So I'm going to change this to probably So really that's all.
I'm working with 3. So some projects are, 3 of them each, they have some, so not only one ACM. But that's not going to affect anything. It's just that the name of the ACM going to change, right?
Essentially, you're going to be using a version of this report, and you're
Mm-hmm.
just and we can save it as, and so you'll have maybe all we have to do is we're just changing the filter, so it's
Mm-hmm.
a very simple thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I will help you get that report set up to make sure everything's working just
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, what I'll do now is, so I got these folders here under reporting, and so we can create a folder for you. So we'll create a new folder,
I
and
have 17 ones I can add. 17 projects. Yeah, there. I mean, the rest, the rest is almost done and ready for construction. So I don't want to bother re-put everything back.
right,
So
yeah,
I
and
start with the stuff that we're working on tracking,
mhm.
not gone to CD yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did because um, here's my old MRP report. So this is what this one is. Um, yeah, it's at some point in time I decided, okay, everything beyond this now goes into the new format. So
Mm-hmm.
um, so so this is the new format. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, you're on the right track there. So I created a folder for you. So you were asking about, okay, where do I go? So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna put a report under this folder for you, PM
Uh-huh.
Hala. So once we get that report in there, what I recommend you do is you star it. So see how I got Duncan MRP report, and there's a star
Yeah.
identifies as one of your favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you'll have something that looks like this. So here's all my
Yeah.
favorites. So
Mm-hmm.
this way I can, and I usually actually also keep them up on my tabs. So the
Mm-hmm.
most, 10 recent project folders all sit up here. So these are all the
Yeah.
ones that I grab on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'll go ahead and set up that report for you now. We'll stick it in there. So when you want to go find it, just you will look under the workspaces.
Workspace. Uh-huh. And then.
Yeah, so under workspaces, and there's three control center
Mm-hmm.
folders. And under control center reporting, that's where you're going to find your folder.
Mm-hmm.
Control center reporting also has the control center intake sheet. So that's the other sheet that, if you ask Diana to do it, then you don't really necessarily have to pay attention to it. But if you end up starting to add your own projects in there, then you may want to go
Yeah.
ahead
I
and
mean,
star that.
I think it's easier for the first, easier and more faster if I have her look at the tracker and then just add them.
Right. Okay. And I'm going to create call it Pack Sierra, right?
Yeah, Paxia
Pack
would
Sierra
be
MRP report.
market report.
I'm going to drag that over.
Or maybe you can add PM before it to make it a little bit, because I have Paxia from McDonald's. So if we see PM, yeah, PM Paxia MRP.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now you got your own report. And then I'm just going to need to go in there, and I'm just going to change. All I'm really going to do is change the filter, and I'll change
Ah.
whatever your construction is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Do we have them or I have to add them? Client name. It should be McDonald's.
it will become part of the it's part of the
Okay.
intake sheet. So
Mm-hmm.
when you give that information to Diana,
Mm-hmm.
um, so on the intake sheet,
but I have control over them on the sheets.
Yeah.
Like
So
if the project, sometimes the project moves from ACM to another ACM, McDonald's.
right.
I
So
can just go there and say,
mhm.
okay, now it's man V, not Drew.
Yes, yeah, you can totally adjust it. So the part that it's looking for, it says it's looking for the client name, it's looking for the client's program name. So I
Mm-hmm.
just called it MRP. You may have multiple,
MRP, correct.
yeah, you may
Yeah.
have multiple MRPs, or maybe you want to have
Mm-hmm.
something separate for, I don't know, side by sides. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so McDonald's, then it's the client program, and then over
Mm-hmm.
here is the client manager or the construction manager. So
Yes.
those are the three things that essentially kind of define what your report is the person, the client, and then the name of the program.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you've got the ability to you may have three different programs with your client, but then each one of those programs has its own name. So um,
Mm-hmm.
and then you may have, of course, then you may have a program that's not McDonald's, and then so you can run the report for the BP. So that's kind of how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So once you tell me what that name is, then I can kind of help you build up the report so that your report will just focus on your clients and your client name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of information, I realize, but and I expect that we'll probably spend a fair amount of time once you've kind of gone through here and set things up. We can help you get
Sure.
the schedule to send out on a weekly basis, and I'm available. You know, I know it's extremely important.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And can I just you pick one project and then you send an update if they want like a project, like they ask me about one project.
Yeah, yeah, you should be able to do
Mm-hmm.
that. Trying to think the best way to, if you've got, so are you saying that you might have 20 projects for one person, but they ask for an update for one project? Is that the situation, or are you saying you may have one client or one construction manager that
No,
only has a
like
project?
if like sometimes I got like, oh, can you send me the schedule for this location?
Mm-hmm.
I can just go there and then generate the email from this, and then I'll pick up submittal date, approval, estimated approval date, construction date, stuff like that. Like in
Um,
one email, and then send that email to her or him, and then that's their schedule. They have it.
uh, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, only reason I'm hesitating, you can definitely do it, but I'm just wondering how much work that's going to be because the way if you use the pre-filtered report, um, then your report is based upon all of the all of the
Mm.
projects in that particular program, right?
Oh.
So, but what you could do, so here's a report that's got everything I own in it. I
Hmm.
can filter any way I want. So
Oh, okay.
I could go in here and I might say what, and I'll say that the project or the PMDG number. So if I said the PMDG number contains um, 1808, and
Oh, okay.
but see that's kind of a hassle. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that on a regular basis, but I mean you can't do it.
No, I meant because when the email we get from Kevin,
Yeah.
it's generated by Smartsheet. Um, it will give like a real email, not a schedule,
Mm-hmm.
an email saying how many permits approved, how many permits estimated, and then it summarizes the whole program. So I was thinking if this can say, okay, email this date, and then it will come in an email format and saying, dear Andy, the schedule for this as follow, and then 1, 2, 3. Because the format I see from Kevin comes to us. It's in writing, and it's with bullets. I can email you one.
Okay.
So I was thinking if this can be done. So when they say, okay, what's our schedule for this one, and we can just say summarize something, summarize like one project.
Okay. Well, you can create we can create all sorts of different reports that maybe, like you said, if it's just a summary, you could have another report that's more of a summary. We've also got this. We can also create this dashboard so that they can see, how many projects are under permit and so forth if they kind of want to see it overall.
Yeah, I have access to their Tapaxia from McDonald's, and then it shows this information about how many, how many they still, still construction, how many completed, and all this.
Yeah.
But it's a great tool.
Yeah, we did this for BP because for BP we've got a project where we were doing like 110 projects. So I created this is actually this year's. It started out as 110 and we just finished those, and we did another 17. So this one just tells them how many projects have ready for construction and how many projects need these certain types of permits, and then they can actually go through here and look at the list. And I share that with the client, and this is actually, you can make this a web page. So I actually publish this to a web page. I just give the link to the web page to the client, and he spends most of his time just looking at this. I started figuring out that he was calling me up going, well, how many are ready for construction, and how many are, do we need to get
but he has all the answers. Yeah.
So it was obviously he was more concerned about the big picture than he was each individual project. So so I set this up for him. So the dashboard is, I haven't even used it with McDonald's yet, but it's something that we can do if that's what they're looking for. It doesn't sound like this is exactly what you're after. So yeah, if you can kind of share with me how you report on a single project, because of course you've always got the option, you can always go into the schedule itself. You can always go into the schedule, and then you can print this, if they wanted to.
They usually care about when you submit and when their estimated date. So about 3 or 4 dates, not much. So it's like if something. Did you get my email? If you look, that's all generated by Smartsheet.
All right, I'm checking now.
No, if you don't look at attachments, look at the body of the email.
Oh, okay.
So when you look at the body of the email, you see these are all generated except for the beginning. You see the red permit dates, yellow. This is all generated by Smartsheet.
Oh.
I don't think they go and do it themselves. No, this is all generated based on the information we have. All architects they put.
And then are they calculating this out themselves, and they're just looking for when we submitted, when you obtained it. So your report might just have to be these 2 columns.
We tell them when we submit, when we get the permit.
Right.
So they don't put much pressure on us on this side. But it becomes an issue when we don't meet our deadline. And then they say, you put this deadline.
Right.
You made us, put all. So don't make us show like we're, because they take that deadline, they build the construction date based on it. They start talking to owner operators, and they make them, start preparing everything to ground break. If you don't have permits, you can't start, and then not good.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
you could,
that's why you see all this comes every week, and if there's any submittal missed or estimate permit date missed, then that's the first they start
hmm
with, and you see it in the schedule, and it's all red, and
yeah, yeah,
they yeah they
uh,
like 30 days clear between obtaining permit and start construction.
right.
But no other architects, you don't see it.
Hmm.
It's very hard
Well, we should
because
certainly,
they put themselves in. They don't give themselves enough. Here permits take longer than other places.
right.
Hmm
Well, you should definitely be able to. We can adjust the report so that really all they're focusing on is the permit submittal and permit approved. All of
hmm
these can be hidden. So just hide the column, or we create a report that all it does is show the columns that you
Yeah,
want to show.
actually, that's what I'm after. I like you can sort, right? This is all you can sort, you can hide, you can all these things we can do, right? Just like Excel.
Yeah, yeah,
And the better thing actually is the pages that you can go. And yeah, I'm looking forward to use this tool.
yeah. And typically, what you want to most of the time what you want to do is you want to create more reports. So,
Mhm.
for instance, if you want to send something out like this because
Mhm.
they request it, then rather than going in and filtering, you just create another report that's
Yeah.
pre-filtered to look like
Yeah,
this.
and I use this a lot because I usually like when I ask for ASRs and stuff, and I have like 15 of them has the same scope that I have the same ASR. I actually copy these the way you see it here, and then I put the scope above it and say, give me SSPCOs, and usually they look for the ID number and then the name of the store and then the PO number.
Hmm.
So I give it to them as a schedule. I don't want to do 20 emails
Right.
asking for the same thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be great. I use it a lot.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm
Yeah, I set up a separate tracker. I've been kind of pulling my hair out a little bit with McDonald's when it comes to getting my POs. So I actually set up this real simple list,
hmm
and it just lists, and I've got it highlighted. So if it's highlighted in yellow, that means
Yeah.
McDonald's owes me something, and if it's
Yeah.
highlighted in red, that it means I need to
So you need to
Like this
do it.
Pullman one, I need to submit the proposal. But what I can
Hmm
do, and I actually sent this to Kristen and Diana.
hmm
Um, oh, wait, not Diana. Is it Diana? Yeah. Um, I sent them the ones where it says, yeah, I submitted an SSP, not received, and this is when I submitted it. Yeah, I submitted it 20 days
hmm
ago. How come I don't have a PO?
hmm
So this helps me to stay on track of it because, yeah,
Yeah, I hated when I work with like a project coordinator from McDonald's that they get overwhelmed and you don't hear from them for weeks.
yeah,
Recently, we were working with Joanna. She's great. She's great.
mm,
You send her, she send you, and she directly send you the PO right away, and then the system would
nice.
email Satami. But it's, she's great. I'm very happy.
Yeah, no, I find that it seems like it takes a
The
really long
minute,
time to
yeah,
get
the
the
minute
PO.
she gets the email approval from, and sometimes actually she harass the ACM. It's like, oh, is this approved? Is this approved?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she's very good.
I
I
got one.
worked with Gabby, the other
Mm-hmm.
one. That one is very. She sleeps and stuff sometimes months.
Right.
I hold one project. I didn't do anything. I told JCM, said I don't have PO. I can't. It's like you have my email approval. And I said, even though
Right.
I can't release consultants
Yeah. Can't
if I
invoice
don't
on that.
see a PO.
Right.
Yeah, and then he was running after her. and then until they get me the PO.
Nice.
That I told them, it's just a risk. What if you guys changed everything?
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Then who's gonna pay the bill?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and reach out to Diana. Ask,
Diana.
give her the list of
What's
projects.
her last name, Diana?
What is her last name? I'll pull it up on my email because I email her pretty often. Diana
She's in your
Schleff.
office?
It's Oh, by the way, she does my SSPs now too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good to know, huh? Yeah, so it's Diana Schleff, and I've gotten her. Yeah, what I do is I send her. So here's my little email proposal that I sent to Terry, and they come back with an SSP, and I'm like, all right, I need these
Okay,
SSPs filled out. Here's my scope of work, and she knows how to do it for both the EOTS and the MRPs now. So that's one less headache for me to deal with.
Yeah. Or sometimes, yeah. I mean, I can use her.
Good.
Is she in your office?
She's in the Vancouver office.
Vancouver office.
Yeah,
Canada.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But she's kind of on call to help out with the smart sheets. She's the smart sheet admin for the company. Luckily, there's not that many people really utilizing this. Right now, it's me and Amanda, and it's Michael doing BP, and with you on board, it'll just be the three of us. So everybody else is kind of slow to adopt. So I will send Diana an email letting her know that you're going to be requesting projects.
Okay.
She hasn't done it for a while, so I may have to walk her through it, but don't worry about it. That's between me and her.
Okay.
We'll get you taken care of.
That's great.
Okay.
Don't leave us, me and her, and then we'll say, huh?
Yeah.
Let's try this.
Right. No, I know how it works. So
good.
I can give her a little refresher since it's been a little while. Okay. Excellent.
That's good.
All right. Well, let me know how it goes, and then be sure to. I guess I'll keep an eye on the input sheet, and as soon as I see the names of your clients and stuff, then I can kind of help you build those reports.
Sure.
That's really all it takes.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
No problem, Hala. You have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Okay.
And a holiday.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.